The PlayStation Network is running a fantastic sale to celebrate the month of October and Halloween, and there are a ton of great deals, a lot of deals that don't even really go together thematically, but who cares, great deals on PS4 games is something that I will always cover, and in this video we'll be taking a look at 12 awesome PlayStation 4 games under $10 as a part of the PlayStation Network Sale of the Dead. Now a couple of these deals are repeats, a couple of them are brand new, but altogether I would say that every single one of these deals is a great value, so without further ado, let's get right into this. First up, we have Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition for $4.49. Guacamelee is a fantastic game. We just had the release of Guacamelee 2, but that is a little bit pricier at this point. The game itself is a hybrid 2D Metroidvania-style action platformer and brawler. You play as the luchador Juan and explore an open, non-linear world, and there's actually a pretty quirky story here. The presentation is awesome, and the gameplay is great as well. You can also play this game in co-op, so that's a lot of fun too. And $4.49 for Guacamelee. It's a game that a lot of people at this point I feel haven't checked out, but definitely give it a look as it's a great time. Next up, we have Alien Isolation for $8.99. Now, thematically, this is one of those games that definitely go with the month of October, and it also has a sizable amount of content and gameplay. We're talking a solid 10 to 12 hour experience. And given the fact that it's available for just $8.99, I could understand why some people might have been disappointed at a full $59.99, but at this price, I would say it's a great buy. Next up, another game that really goes with the month of October is Amnesia The Collection for $8.99. Amnesia The Collection includes Amnesia The Dark Descent and Amnesia A Machine for Pigs. Now, The Dark Descent is definitely the better received game of the two. I thought A Machine for Pigs was okay, however, but still The Dark Descent is really one of the most iconic horror games of all time and really did the horror genre justice back in the day. Now that you're getting both games on the PlayStation 4 and you're getting it at the low price of $8.99, I would say that this is a great buy, and for the month of October, again, one of those games that I would definitely recommend.
Can't shake them. They come every night.
Next up, we have Dead Rising and Dead Rising 2. Those are $5.99 each. I thought I would recommend both of them. Now, while this game is called Dead Rising, definitely doesn't have the horror atmosphere that an Amnesia or an Alien Isolation has. This is a more action-oriented experience, but don't get it twisted, it's a ton of fun. Now, there are some mechanics with Dead Rising and Dead Rising 2 that may be seen as a bit dated, but overall, if you're just looking for pure joy and pure fun, Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 1 definitely have that in spades. Dead Rising 4 is also discounted, however, that game isn't very good. I would just recommend you to stick to Dead Rising and Dead Rising 2. Those are great games. Again, a couple dated mechanics, but overall, considering you're getting it for $5.99, I would say they're both a good buy. Next up, we have Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition for $7.49. Now, we are coming up on the release of Devil May Cry 5, so now is not a bad time to check out Devil May Cry 4. Another game that's a little bit on the older side. Game originally released back in 2008 on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and it was very good then. At this point in 2018, you can definitely see a little bit of the dated mechanics. However, if you're just looking for a quality action-adventure experience, there's still some fun to be had here. I think the issue with DMC4 was that there was a lot of backtracking, there were a lot of reused environments, so that was a bit unfortunate, but overall, from a story standpoint, characters, and gameplay side of things, I thought DMC4 knocked that out of the park, and for $7.49, a solid pickup here. Next up, we have Killing Floor 2 for $8.99. Now, if you want to get into the thematic side of things, but with a multiplayer experience, Killing Floor 2 definitely has you covered on that end. Now, this was a PlayStation Plus game not too long ago, so some of you guys probably got it from that. However, if you didn't and you want to play this game, $8.99 for it is a great pickup. Now, I do have to say, if you're picking up Killing Floor 2, definitely get a couple of friends to join you on the ride, because this is a game that's best played with a couple of friends, and you'll have a great time that way. This is also a game that Tripwire has kept relatively updated. It's PlayStation 4 Pro enhanced now, and overall, there's just a ton of fun to be had here as a multiplayer experience, and $9 for it, I would say, is a very good buy, so check that out. Next up, Killzone Shadowfall is down to $3.99. Killzone Shadowfall has been often down to this price during sales, but $3.99 for this game I would say is a rather good pickup. Now I do have to be honest, on launch this was my most anticipated game for the PlayStation 4, but it let me down pretty hard. But bear in mind, I am the biggest Killzone fan that you're gonna come around. I played the hell out of Killzone 2 and 3, and those games were just on another level. Killzone Shadowfall has a lot of quality elements. Technically speaking, this is still one of the best looking PS4 games you're gonna find. However, I always associated Killzone as a multiplayer experience, and the multiplayer here is just lacking compared to KZ2 and 3. The single player, however, is still rather good, and that's probably the component of the game I enjoyed the most. And now that it's down to $3.99 to just get that single player and play through that, that's a pretty good price point. Next up, we have Outlast, the Bundle of Terror for $7.24. Now, this includes Outlast and Outlast Whistleblower. That is the extra content to Outlast, and Outlast is another one of the most iconic horror games ever. This was a game that when it was originally released, everybody was doing playthroughs of it, everybody was streaming it on Twitch, and it gained a lot of popularity that way, and it's still looked back upon as a very influential horror experience. And this is a game that really captures the essence of horror. During the time of its release, where a lot of games were going away from that horror atmosphere, Outlast really brought that back. Now, Outlast 2 did just release, however, that's a bit more pricey, and considering that the Bundle of Terror is only $7.24, you get the base game, you get Whistleblower, it's definitely a good buy at this price, and I would highly recommend it if you've never played Outlast. And at this point, if you've never played Outlast and you're even remotely into horror games, you're doing yourself a grave disservice. Remedy that ASAP. Next up, we have Resident Evil 4. It's down to $7.99. On top of that, a bunch of the other Resident Evil games are discounted too, including Resident Evil 5, 6, Revelations is on sale. And I just talked about how with Outlast, that game really captured that essence of horror. Well, with Resident Evil 4, and more so with RE5 and RE6, it was really going away from that horror atmosphere. Now, with Resident Evil 4, it's still a fantastic game. Resident Evil 4 is considered by many to be the best Resident Evil game in the series, and I can definitely understand why people think that. I didn't think too highly of RE5 or RE6, but they're still okay games. And I think Resident Evil Revelations is a very underrated game. That game is discounted to $7.99 as well. We're talking about the first Revelation, which was originally released on the 3DS and then later ported over to just about every other platform. And that is quite a good game. Considering a lot of people are looking forward to the Resident Evil 2 remake that is coming in January, now is not a bad time to freshen yourself up on Resident Evil, although expect RE2 to really capture that essence of horror. With a game like RE4 or RE5, you're really not going to be getting that, but Resident Evil 4 is still a fantastic game, and if you've never played it or you just want to revisit it at $7.99, I would say that's a really, really good buy.
Freeze! I said freeze!
Next up, we have Soma for $8.99. Now, Soma is done by Frictional Games, the guys that also did Amnesia, and I would say that Soma is without a doubt their better game. That might be a little bit controversial, but I think the issue with Soma is just enough people haven't played it. Soma is set in an underwater remote research facility, and once again, this is a game that really captures that horror element, and you play as a character that isn't all too strong. He's rather weak, and it's really about just getting by. There's not a ton of combat, but it's a more psychological experience, and I thought they knocked that out of the park. Visually and design-wise, it's very strong as well, and $8.99 for this game is a great price, originally released at $29.99. A game that I thought would have resonated a little bit more with gamers, considering it did come from the Amnesia guys. It's been received well from a critical standpoint, but I feel like just enough gamers don't know about the game, and if you don't know about it, if you want a quality horror experience, Soma is one I feel like a lot of you guys missed out on, and for $8.99, might be a little bit on the pricier side compared to a lot of the other games, but definitely well worth that price. Next up, another game that is often discounted to this price, Until Dawn, is available for $4.99. Now, Until Dawn right now I think is a great pickup, especially because it goes with the theme of October. It's a story-driven horror adventure game. I don't think you guys are gonna get all too scared of it, but there are some jump scares and it really takes you back to like 80s cheesy horror movies, but I say that in the most positive way possible. It really nails that, and originally this game did get some criticism because of its lack of content, and it was released at a $59.99 price point. Now that we're looking at the game for $4.99, Until Dawn is one of those PlayStation 4 exclusives I really think everyone should play. If you're into games like Heavy Rain or just more story-driven experiences like the Telltale games, Until Dawn is going to be right up your alley, and for the month of October at just $5, I think it's an awesome pickup. And lastly, want to give a shout to What Remains of Edith Finch, which is down to $9.99. Now, What Remains of Edith Finch is a collection of short stories about a family in Washington State. This is another extremely story-driven game, but considering you do have a couple of stories in there and that kind of ties together into the totality of the game, it's a pretty unique experience, and you find out how every single family member in this house died. $9.99 for the game, a little bit steep of a price point. I would have liked it a little bit cheaper. If it was $4.99 or even $6.99, I would say this is an absolute buy, but it's still such a unique game that I still would give it a recommendation at $9.99. So that's gonna conclude this video. Again, the PSN Sale of the Dead is going on right now, and I believe it's gonna last until November 2nd, so you've got quite a while to make up your decision on what games you want to buy. If you guys want to see another video where we take a look at more pricier options, let us know in the comment section down below, and we will do that sometime down the line. But that's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.